First of all, just say thank you for tuning in. It's been a very long weekend. My baby boy was born March 29th, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life to even just witness it, because I was there the entire duration of the time. I was sitting there holding my wife's hand. I was sitting up there in the room and laying on that little couch or whatever. I'm laying down there, and every step of the way, anything that she needed, I was doing what I can to go back and forth from the cafe, all that stuff. And even when the actual delivery happened, I saw things that I can't unsee, my friends. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But seeing the birth of my son, when my son was born, and the doctor picked him up and guided him over to the cleaning table and whatnot, all I could do was just stare. I didn't quite tear up right then and there. My wife did, but I just stared. I couldn't believe he was a reality. And it wasn't until I sat there with him and I just looked into his eyes and just sat back and reflected on just the last few years, and just all the different mental struggles that I went through personally, even some financial struggles, and just having to go a far distance to get to where I'm at. But what I noticed was a few things after I announced that my son was born, specifically to social media. There's a lot of people well-wishing. There's a lot of people who send in a lot of positive vibes, and I love that, and I appreciate every single one of you. And then, there's some people who, of course, because they've been a parent for, I don't know, for a year or half a year or 2, 3 years, they come in and they give you the specialist talk. And, I appreciate getting information. Let me preface that first, is that I appreciate getting all the information that I do. But there's something that dawned on me as I started to get a bit irritated by some people's advice. Now, it's not one in particular person. It was a group of people, and I know they mean well, but I could not help this feeling of irritation. Ironically, my wife experienced the same thing from people, I guess, who were DMing her in their Instagram, automatically telling her what she should do with her body, and, oh, you need to breastfeed, and you need to do this, and having all this particular advice. And, we know that they mean well, but it still became a source of irritation to her, because it was like, look, I'm a first-time parent. I'm going to make mistakes. And although your information presents some value because you're a parent, I still want to find things my own way. There's some things that I want to discover on my own and make decisions for my own body. And I was with her 110%. There's a part of me, I shouldn't say 100%, maybe about 98% I was with her, because I was like, oh, they mean well. They mean well. But then I started getting people who were telling me, oh, the first year is going to be difficult. You're probably going to have to slow down those videos. You're going to have to slow down on those beats, and you're going to have to do this and do that. And what I realized was that I started getting irritated by it. And I think the reason I was getting irritated by it was because, one, I think that people confuse their skill for strategy, right? I think what they do is they think that because they have a skill for something, or that they worked at a skill for something, that it automatically means that they have a strategy that can work across the board for everyone. And that's just not the truth. A 4-foot basketball player has got to have a different strategy than a 7-foot basketball player. Right? A 7-foot basketball player is not that far from the rim. They can dunk and get some easier points. A 4-foot basketball player is going to have to work a lot harder to get to those points. But the thing that separates the two is that although this 7-footer may have a natural skill or skill set for putting the ball in the rim, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a better strategy than the 4-footer who's coming in. And you can even make the comparison to someone who is new to something. And that's me. I'm new to parents, and I don't want to, in no shape or form come off like I'm some kind of specialist out the gate. That'll be ridiculous. It's naive. However, what I think that people don't understand is that there are individuals in this world that are like me, who they don't approach, and I'm going to tell you where I got the source of this information, but they don't approach things understanding that everything is linked together. Everything new that you learn, there is a method to your learning that from your very young age has been basically introduced to you as your style of learning, I should say. A lot of us get, we need things to be very visual for us to learn. We need to see the instructions on an IKEA sheet before we can put together a desk, right? We need a manual. Some of us are very auditory, listeners, where we need somebody to explain exactly how to put something together. You're right. We want to use a desk example. We need somebody to explain. Oh, you got to put the thingamajig over here, and you got to put the thingamajig right there, and then you got to make sure that it slaps on, it latches on. These are words that you use that somebody who's auditory is going to look at and say, oh, that's easy. Just snap it. Okay, cool. With me, there's something that I learned when I went to the Tony Robbins conference. It's something that we all sort of do in our own ways, but until you activate this part of your brain, you're not going to be able to take full advantage of it. And here's the thing about it. No matter what you want to do in life, if there is somebody that you have access to that is successful at it, how can I put this? You can mirror their success and mirror a few different things that I'm going to explain to you specifically from, yes, once again, you guessed it, Tony Robbins. There's ways that you can mirror someone's success to find success for yourself. I remember hearing Tony Robbins talk about how there was I believe it was a general who invited him to basically teach his soldiers or his core, fighters to basically learn how to shoot the gun better. Right? And mind you, these are people who were some of the greatest shooters in the world at the time. But he wanted to improve upon it because it would be great for the military overall, especially going into combat with folks in other countries and whatnot. And so they brought Tony Robbins, who had never shot a gun in his life, to come and teach them that. Right? And so when he came up there, the first thing he did was he picked the gun up and, he watched somebody do it before him. He kind of started looking at it and he shot the gun off and they laughed at him. Here's the thing that he said that he started to go into the mode of, and this is very important for what I'm getting ready to explain. I'm going to tell you how it all comes back to this whole parenting thing, right? Tony Robbins believes that you can study the success of anybody, even if you don't have access to them. Say you got an autobiography you can read. As long as you have access to these three specific, I don't even want to call them the whole thing is a strategy, but these three specifics, pay attention to these. First, if you know the person's belief system, say for instance, we want to model Michael Jordan's jump shot. We need to first figure out what is Michael Jordan's belief system. And to explain this as whether you believe you can do something or you believe you can't, you're right. Now, it's a famous saying. And it's the truth, your belief system. So if we figure out what is Michael Jordan's belief system as he's letting that basketball shot go from his wrist and he's following through, right? Is he seeing the hoop as being 50 feet wide? Does he believe that the hoop is a lot bigger than what it actually is? Does he believe that shot is going down before it actually goes down? Does it start to create some kind of certainty within his belief system that affects everything else? So you want to figure out somebody's belief system because anybody can have a skill for something, right? You can learn a skill. Not everybody has a strategy. So understand the belief system is the first thing to being able to mirror someone's success in a particular, area in their life. Man, I said a million doggone times. Okay, but the second thing is mental syntax. Okay, so you need to know their belief system and their mental syntax. What is that? It is the way that people organize their thoughts. Mental syntax is like a code, ingredients, and order. This is basically the order in which people do things. So for Michael Jordan, his belief system is that, let's just guess. His belief system is that the hoop is 50 feet wide and that no matter what, that shot is going down. That's his belief system. Now, his mental syntax is what sort of mechanics goes into place, or what is the order of it, right? Does he do some breathing before? Does he take the ball and does he look directly at the basketball? Does he look at the back of the rim? As soon as you know the order, next comes the physiology, right? This is when the mind and the body are totally linked. It is the way that you use your physiology, the way that you breathe and hold your body, your posture, your facial expressions, the nature and quality of your movements actually determines the state you're in. So Michael Jordan believes that the rim is 50 feet wide. His mental syntax says that there's a particular order to when I get this ball. The competition is obsolete. If I follow through, everything will be all right. The physiology is when that mind, everything that you organize already in your mind, it takes on a different, when you have that sort of mental preparation, your body now takes on a different form. I'm not studying. I don't want your skills. I don't want your skills. I listen to something. I don't want your skill set. I don't want that. No, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for your strategy. Having a mental strategy, right? A strategy that I organize together in my mind of how I learn things. It supports me in everything that I do. So it's the same thing with my parenting. So I'll give you an example today. My mom was sitting with my son Nas, and she was holding him in her arms, and she was looking at him in the face, and she was holding him at a certain angle, right, where his neck was supported, his body was, his spine was parallel to the back of his head, and everything was just looking very like organized, and she wasn't bouncing him like I tend to kind of bounce and kind of rock on to sleep, and she wasn't doing that. But that stillness and that moment, I looked in there and I said, okay, well, what would be her belief system? Her belief system is that her power is in her voice and in her eye contact and attention to detail with him. I think that the mental syntax or the order is that if I prop his body the right way, if I control my own breathing, control my own mental thoughts, right, get that all in order and have an order for it, then I'll be able to now go to the next step, which is my physiology. So now that I have myself intact, it's almost like somebody who is stressed out trying to calm somebody else out. You know, you're not going to calm them out. You're not going to calm somebody if you're stressed out. It's just your energy is going to be all off. So as I looked at that and then I saw her physiology was her back was straight. She was looking straight into his eyes and she was breathing and she was talking like this. Oh, Nas, it's okay. That boy slept longer and he slept longer in one session with my mom than he did in 2 days with my wife and I. And I looked at that and I said, okay.
Check, and I took that check. But when I looked at that and I said, you know what, this is my angel investor. You know, for those that are not familiar, you know, angel investors, obviously somebody that they're, you know, they consider an angel.
I know that when I got into rap, when you know, I was doing late night studio sessions, I know that my lack of sleep, I knew that not